Hey everyone, this is Kelsey from the Arcane Library, and I wanted to make a video today about how to make a first level Shadowdark RPG character. So if you need some guidance or this is the first time you've done it, you can just follow along and jump right in. So, alright. To get started, on the screen here, you'll see that I have a few things open. I have a digital dice tray so that you can see what I'm rolling. I have the Shadowdark RPG core rules, and then I have a list of what first level characters start with, which you're going to find on page 14 of the core rules. And then of course I have a form fillable character sheet, which is part of the free Shadowdark RPG Quick Start download that you can get either on DriveThruRPG or on my website. So you'll want to have all this stuff ready to go before you get started. If you have real dice, definitely roll those. It's more fun, but I just want you to be able to see what I'm rolling so you can, see the stats I've got here. So, okay, getting started. The first thing that we need to do is roll some stats, which is going to be on page 15. How you do this, typically speaking, is you roll 3d6, and you do it 6 times in a row, and you just go down the line. Now, this is probably one of the things people change most about character creation. Some game masters will want people to roll 6 stats and assign them. Some people will let you roll all your stats and then swap 2. Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to go by sort of the baseline standard here of fully random down the line. And if you want to change it up in your own game, that's totally cool. So here we go. First off, let's roll some dice. My first stat, 8. Looking good. So I'm going to start to fill in this character sheet as we go. So I've got an 8 for strength. All right, let's reroll. I've got a 4 for dexterity. This is so exciting. All right, here we go. I've got a 6 for constitution. Guys, this character is going to be phenomenal. And I have a 14 for intelligence. Now that's not bad. For wisdom, it looks like I have a 12. And for charisma, got a 12. So we pulled it together there in the end. So I thought we were about to have to reroll our stats because if you don't get a number 14 or higher, optionally in the rules, you can reroll all your stats. Some game masters won't allow that, but I think by and large it means that you'll have a character that's at least playable if you follow those rules. So we have our stats. Now, I want to show you guys on page 15 of the rules, you can see in the upper above me corner here, we see that stats have a number, which is what we rolled on the dice, and then a modifier, which is a bonus or penalty based on how high or low the number is. So that's the next thing that we're going to fill out here. So when we're referencing our chart here, we're looking at, for example, our strength is an 8. So that means that we have a -1 modifier. Not the strongest person in the world here, but that's okay. Now we're going to take a look at dexterity. A 4 is a -3. Now that really hurts because dexterity is an important number, so it's going to be fun to try to keep this character alive with this, and you know what? We might even manage to do it. So a 6 for our constitution, that's going to get us a -2. All right, we're through the hard part here, the bad numbers. Now we're up to the good numbers. So a 14 is a +2, wisdom +1, and charisma +1, with those both being 12s. All right, so we've got our stats. Now, the next thing that we want to do, and bear in mind, I would write these in pencil because your stats might change a little bit before your character creation is completely done. But if we look at that list of what first level characters start with, the next thing in line is a choice of ancestry. Now, ancestry is kind of what kind of being you are. So if we flip over here to ancestry, we have a variety of options here, some classic fantasy ancestries. And it's fun to get to choose here and to start to bring your character concept together. I think I'm going to go with a human just because humans are a good standard, especially if you're not sure what to go with at first. So in ancestry over here, I'm going to type human. Now note that under the human ancestry, you'll see they're the last one on this spread, they have something called ambitious. This is a talent where humans get to actually have some bonus abilities. Now I'm going to write this in here just so we don't forget. Ambitious. Extra talent at first level. And you'll see where that comes into play in just a minute here. But coming back, now we chose our ancestry. Now it is actually time to choose our class. So class is the job or the specialty, the skill set that your character has that's going to make the most impact as a part of their adventuring team. So when we're looking at our classes here, I want to take us over to our rulebook. Now under classes, we actually have 4 options. We have a fighter class, which is someone who is a specialist at combat, weapons, and armor, and strength is probably their most important stat, either strength or dexterity. The next option here is a priest. Now this is a cleric, and as some people know them, but it's basically a mixture between a warrior and a holy person who's going to be able to wear some armor, do pretty well in combat, but also have some magic that's good at healing people, repelling the undead and the unholy, and kind of buffing. So that's what priests are good at, and their most important stats are probably wisdom and strength. Third option here is a thief. Thieves are experts at exploring the environment. They're good at climbing, hiding, sneaking, stealing, tinkering. So they're really utility characters, and their greatest strength and need is probably the dexterity stat. And then our last option here is a wizard. Wizards are spellcasters. They're very fragile in combat. They can't wear armor, but they can cast magical wizard spells, which can be really powerful and can be really exciting, especially when used in a good application. So for them, their most important stat is intelligence. Now, looking at our character over here, it looks like we've got a pretty decent intelligence score. That's actually our highest number. So I think we're going to go ahead and be a wizard here. Wizard, awesome. And now we're starting off at level 1, and this is something that gets explained a bit later into the book, but when you're first starting off, you need a certain number of experience points to attain the next level. And at first level, that's 10. So it's always 10 times your level, and it always resets when you gain a new level. So just starting off as a brand new, fresh-faced first level character, we don't have any experience points, and we need to get to 10. Okay, so now I'm going to jump us back over here. Now we have chosen our class. Our class is going to give us a couple of other features, and you can see in this spread here that we've got a few things going on, so I want to go over that briefly. First of all, our weapons that we can use are a dagger and a staff. We're not the best at combat, but we can't wear any armor. And our hit points at first level are 1d4, and we're going to roll that in a second here. We know some languages, and we also get to learn some spells. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and pick some of this stuff out. But before I do that, I want to roll what my talents are. So you'll see over on the right-hand side here, we've got wizard talents, and these can impact our stats, and they can impact things like the spells we know. So this is something we want to roll now at this point. All right, bringing us back over here. So 1 class talent roll at first level. That means we roll 2 6-sided dice, and we see what we get here. All right, clear that. I got a total of 3. So for a wizard, what does that mean? Let's find out. So a 3 means we can choose +2 to our intelligence stat or take +1 to our wizard spellcasting checks. Now, +2 to your intelligence stat is almost always the right choice until your intelligence caps out at 18. So what I'm going to do is say that our talent is +2 intelligence stat, and that's going to raise us up to a 16. Which means our bonus jumps up to +3. Now, remember when I told you because we're a human, we get an extra talent at first level? That is going to be what we roll right now. So we actually get 2 talents, which makes humans really powerful and really cool. So let's find out our second talent. We got a 9. Looking over at the talent table for wizards. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. So looking over at the talent table for wizards, we see that a 9 is gain advantage on casting 1 spell you know. I'm going to note that down, and we'll choose that in a little bit. Advantage, I just usually say that. Casting 1 spell. And we'll choose that in a minute. In fact, I am going to put that under our ambitious marker so we know that's what we rolled. All right. So we got our talent rolls situated, and then I think the next thing we're going to do is roll our hit points, which is listed right here. Our stats are set in stone now. They're not going to change again after we've done our talent rolls, so it's good to move ahead. And I'm going to just quick roll our hit points now. A wizard starts off with one of the least hit points possible, so 1d4. And at first level only, you add your constitution modifier to your hit points. In other versions of fantasy role-playing games like 5th edition D&D, you add your constitution bonus at every level, but in this case, you do not. It's only at first level. And for us, that's good because we have a -2 on our constitution. So we're going to roll 1d4. The minimum is always 1. So if we roll a number that would give us below 1 as our total, then we just start off with 1 hit point, like a classic wizard should. Here we go. We rolled a 1, which means we are a 1 hit point wizard. Now that's exciting because that means it's going to be hard to keep us alive, and that makes it even more fun to try to play this wizard to success. So we have our hit points. We're going to choose the next thing on the list, which is our background. I'm going to take us over to the background page, and that's something that we roll randomly to determine if we have any additional kind of cool skills as a result of our training before we became an adventurer. And this is going to take a 20-sided die, so let's cue that up. What's our background? We got a 14, so looking at the results here, a 14 is a soldier. This is fun. So our wizard was actually a soldier at one point. I can see why they're not a soldier anymore given their strength and other combat-oriented stats. So here we are. Now that might come into play at some point in game, and it's up to me as a player to suggest this to the game master, but we might be in a situation where having some soldiering skills or knowledge or connections is useful, and having that as my background might mean I could maybe make some rolls with advantage, or I might have some connections that would be useful in certain scenarios. So that's why we roll our background. Now we're going to do our choice of alignment, which is up next, page 27. You can see it here. There are 3 broad alignments in Shadowdark, and chaotic, lawful, or neutral. We don't have to get into the weeds of picking apart the philosophies behind these, but generally speaking, chaotic characters are like either selfish or evil. Lawful characters are either selfless, law-abiding, or good-hearted, and neutral characters can be a little bit of a mixture of both. I'm looking at our wizard, and I think it would be interesting. This person was a soldier at one point, somewhat disciplined, a member of society, so I think probably they're a lawful wizard, and generally speaking on the side of the good guys, so I'm going to have our alignment be lawful. Now that we have chosen our alignment, that means that we're going to know next what our title is, which is going to be on page 30, so I'm going to jump straight to our titles here. We're looking at wizard titles, so it's based on our level and our alignment. And as we gain levels, our title gets more cool and impressive. And now, titles don't have a super big game effect, but much like your background, they kind of have like a fluff style effect where, definitely an apprentice wizard is probably going to have fewer opportunities and doors open to them than, say, an archmage. So as you're gaining renown and notoriety through your adventuring, your title might open some doors for you. So we see that as a first level lawful wizard, we are an apprentice. And then I'm going to just want to add that to my sheet here. So apprentice. All right. And we're reaching the end here. So if we were a priest character, we would be then required to choose a deity, a god. Not every character needs to have one, but generally speaking, because priests get their magic from their gods, they do need to choose one that matches with their alignment. But I still think that our character will probably have some form of deity that they worship. And the deity that most wizards like is Ord. Ord is the god of magic. So I'm going to put Ord as our deity. Now, the last thing that we need to calculate here is going to be stuff relating to our combat ability. And then also I want to write in a couple more of the things that wizards get. Remember when we look back here, we saw that we got quite a few different talents at first level. So I'm going to take a minute to write those in. I'm going to cut the video so you don't have to wait through that, and we will be back briefly after that. All right, you all, we're back. I added a few extra things to the character sheet. I just want to briefly go over what those are if you were following along. Corrected a little typo under wisdom. I had to say equals +1 instead of +1. So what I did was I chose some spells. I got to choose 3 spells at first level, which are going to be these 3. And remember, my ambitious talent gave me advantage on casting 1 spell. I chose to have that attached to the detect magic spell. You'll also see I wrote advantage after magic missile here. That's because all wizards get advantage on casting that spell, and I just didn't want to forget that, so I put it right there. I chose some languages. I got an extra one for being a human as well, an extra common language. Languages are split between common and rare, and really only wizards and priests can learn those rare ones, which is why they're extra special and really useful. And then that's kind of where we left off after choosing my spells. So looking back at our to-do list for making this character, the last real thing is starting gear. And you'll see that here on page 33, I have that pulled up. Now, your gear can impact your armor class, which is how difficult it is for someone to actually hit you and wound you in combat. So that's why they're on the same page together. As a wizard, I do not get to wear any armor. I can't. So my armor class is just 10 plus my dexterity modifier in that case. And as far as my character goes, my dexterity modifier is about as bad as it can get. So my base armor class is 7, which is why I took the mage armor spell. That's going to help me out later. It's going to make my armor class naturally a lot higher. So armor class of 7. And now we're going to figure out how much gear we can have, because we have our starting gold here. First level characters start with 2d6 times 5 gold pieces to buy gear. So first of all, we're going to roll that up. Let me grab our dice. All right, clear that out. 2d6. So 7 times 5, that's 35. Oh yeah, I still remember math. All right, so 35 gold pieces to start off with. And then when we look over at our gear, we have a few options. So this is the gear table, and we have the cost of basic gear. And then on the following pages, we have a few more things. We have a crawling kit, which if you're making a character for the first time, I would recommend going with, because it gives you the basics of what you need to get adventuring, and it only costs 7 gold. It uses up 7 of your gear slots. Gear slots are a thing in Shadowdark that determines how much you can carry. So you can carry a number of items equal to either 10 or your strength number, whichever is your strength stat, whichever is higher. So thankfully in our case, we're gonna go with 10 since our strength stat is so low, which means that we have plenty of room for a crawling kit. So I'm gonna spend 7 of my gold pieces on that. And I'm also going to spend a little bit of cash on a staff, or actually, yeah, I think a staff would be a great option. I can hit people in melee combat with this staff. My other option would have been a dagger. That could be a thing I buy as well, but then I'm almost full up on gear already. So I'm gonna buy myself a staff, and I will set that up real quick, and then I will come back once I have that typed in and all my gear typed in, and we can finish up making our character. All right, everybody, so we got our starting gear situated. I bought that crawling kit and a staff for my wizard. I added the staff to my attacks on the character sheet. You'll see in the lower left-hand corner. It's a melee weapon, so it means that I use my strength bonus as my number I add to my attack roll, and then if I hit, I deal 1d4 damage. So I'm probably going to be standing back and casting Magic Missile as much as possible. Now our character is almost done, but we are missing one more thing, and that is a super cool name. So you can either have a name in mind, but if you don't have one coming straight to mind, on page 38, there's a great roll table by ancestry. So I am going to roll a d20 on this human table, and we will figure out what the name of our character is. Let's see here. A 4. That means that our character is named Natias. So awesome. I'm going to write that in here. Natias. Natias, the human wizard, a former soldier, and now a spell slinger, lawful apprentice of Ord. And that is the whole process. Thank you so much for following along. I'll let you know how long Natias survives, and I hope that you take a shot at building your own character here too. Thank you so much, and happy gaming.